mutas and burrowed banelings, because over the years he's so good at it. But the Hydra got buffed. We know he's a great Hydra player. He may just go for that Hydraling Bane standard style, right?
We've seen a little bit of his Protoss versus Zerg, right? He definitely seems to like that unit quite a bit. But here we go, game number 1 in our next best of 5 series to determine who moves on to the round of 24. Spotting right here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, Dragon Scales, we have Elazer.
Representing Team Liquid, been looking really focused out there. And his opponent in the top left side, the most recent pickup of Onside Gaming revealed just in the last week. The Blue Terran, it's Ryung.
Alrighty, so Roddy already talked about it a little bit just now on the analyst desk. Ryung's Terran versus Zerg does not seem to be his strongest matchup.
He's kind of a strategy king. And this is a matchup where mechanics really check your strategy.
If you look at like the results over the last couple months, pretty much all of his Terran versus Zergs are against guys like Dark, like, you know, like the top level players, and it's really difficult to judge results just based off of that.
I mean, you look at like, he's had close games with Dark, with Reyna in WTL, like
off of Reyna, I think.
The best ZVT guys out there. So it's hard to say, you know, he's just not that great, but then he does have those losses versus much lower ranked Zerg. So it really is what Ryung shows up on the day. He's going to open up with the Command Center first build here. I also wonder if mech is a possibility, because we've heard whispers. We haven't seen a lot of ZVT yet today in day 1, but we've heard whispers from Zerg saying, you know what, the Terrans changed the Banshee and the Cyclone to try and help TVT. They've shadow buffed TVZ, and apparently mech is so powerful, and the Terrans are all doing it, and the Zergs are complaining about it. But someone was saying like a few years ago this was the same case. Everyone was talking about mech, and nobody played it for the entire Katowice, and we were just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't want to hype it up all too much, because you never really know what happens. We might just be seeing Marines and well, a bunch of siege tanks or Marines and Widow Mines and all that, but you're definitely right. I've seen guys like, for example, Hero Marine experiment with mass Banshee styles with a lot of that speed Banshee upgrade, of course. And
he kind of bopped Reyna, right? In the weekly cup with some cool builds.
Amazing builds, and also like a lot of mass Cyclone play, and starting off with a little bit of battle mech, and then he's eventually transitioning towards that vanilla mech. I mean, I'd love to see it, and starting off with a CC first is, you know, it's not a bad beginning.
Yeah, I do like these CC first openings. Just jumpstart that economy a little bit. Don't get as in the face of your opponent early on.
Yeah. What are the odds of Elazer going for an early pull anyways, right?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's so rare these days. Right? We're gonna see it. Like, someone gets too predictable with CC first. Like, it used to be Beyond would get too predictable, and then they'd be like, someone would bring back the one-base Ravager and get like a free win, and you'd be like, whoa, I haven't seen a one-base Ravager roll in a long time, you know? That was something Sue was cranking out in 2017, but...
Yeah, it loses against everything but CC first, right? Like, that type of build. I doubt we're going to be seeing that anytime soon, but yeah, if he keeps doing it, there is a chance Elazer is going to be well familiar with that strategy. He gets the Zergling in over here. He doesn't see all too much, but most importantly right now, he scouts that his opponent went for a quick command center, and that means for the Zerg player that he can make drones, and that's of course the main thing that you're looking for at this point. As the Zerg, you want to be pumping out as many of those workers as possible, use that larva mechanic to your advantage, and yeah, try to get that worker count up.
And when it comes to his economy, Elazer's kind of famous for losing more drones than other Zergs, but still having more drones after losing those than a normal Zerg. Like, he goes the line of greed, where you need to get so much damage versus him for it to pay off, because he's overbuilt workers and he's still dealing with the pressure, not as quickly, right? Yes, he gets some workers roasted, but he'll often be not building units. A lot of people go, oh, Hellions are diving, build Zerglings. And he's like, no, I'm already replacing the drones that are going to die. And I'll just defend with Queens and like a handful of Zerglings. So he's got this ability to wade through what looks like lots of harassment damage, and then you check the worker count afterwards, and you go, that's not just a good lead for Zerg, it's actually a massive lead.
Yeah, so, and it's difficult for Terran to judge that as well, right? Because you're like, okay, great, I killed 12 drones. I am so far ahead. Like, sure, I lost to 6 Hellions, but I'm going to be in a fantastic spot right now. It's really easy to overestimate your advantage against someone like Elazer, who now does decide to go for the Baneling Nest here, but we don't have a lair yet.
Now, I see extra barracks going down without a third command center, Loco. Are we seeing a classic 2-base push? This is interesting because Dragon Scales has a nice ledge out front in the third base, and I got to imagine that up on that that high ground base above Elazer's third, up near that gas geyser is where he wants to wedge those tanks. And maybe even out on the left side on the bridge, actually. Maybe on the bridges, I'm not sure. Either way, it's going to be a big 2-base, essentially an all-in attack. Going up to 5 barracks now is Ryung. Marines, tanks, this was big on Inside Out. Bunny used this over and over again. It's going to be a really big test early in the series, and if you know this is coming, you don't want to go past 60 workers. You want to start massing Ling Bane, you want to set up flanks and backstabs and all this sort of stuff. We've seen guys like Serral, like Reina know this is coming and still lose maps to it on the previous map pool.
Yeah.
This time around, I don't think Elazer has any idea it's happening. He's going to almost 70 workers. He has no scouting information. This is really scary for Elazer.
Yeah. No, you're 100% on point. This build hits extra hard as well with that early game economy boost that Ryung got with the command center first as well. At this point, Elazer seems to assume that there's a third command center somewhere in that main base, which is an assumption you can make fairly, 9 times out of 10 against Terran. But in this case, he really needs units, and I think right now he's starting to pick up on it. But like you pointed out, 60 drones usually seems to be the cutoff point, maybe even a little bit less than that.
I want to see a macro hatch for Elazer. I really think, because he's so high on workers, right? I think he's going to have so much money. I think, macro hatch, essentially. He's got a quick Bane speed, which is really good, right? He's on nothing but Ling Bane production, and he hasn't invested in double Evos, just a single Evo chamber. So I do think if Elazer's clever with his positioning, he can do this, but those Hellions have cleared up a lot of creep, opening up avenues, and I think the big thing a lot of Zergs miss out on is backstabbing against this. I think it's essential that you cut off the rally. If Ryung's allowed to just rally his army to the front, it's almost always a losing fight for the Zerg.
Well, he starts up a couple of Banelings right now. It's very important he keeps making units. That Baneling speed is still like a minute away from now, so at the beginning of this battle, Ryung is going to be in a great position, and he wants to get those siege tanks up on the high ground. That's what he's aiming for right now. There's that backstab you were talking about, although I think he's mostly trying to intercept it in a couple of reinforcements.
Oh, that tank in the back is so hard to get to. The Lings coming in from behind, though. The tanks are getting jumped on, but the Lings have to back out, maybe going in a bit too early. The landed Viking going down. Bane's coming in from the front, but it's a bit of a disjointed flank there from Elazer. The two sides coming in separately, and that is not what you want.
Yeah, I know this is exactly what you were bringing up, right? This is what Ryung is looking for. Those siege tanks get so much damage done, and more importantly, they're still alive.
And remember, this is really big. Those Queens, they can do a good job of buying time, but those tanks just surviving. The Lings going down. 18 Banelings morphing. They're not ready just yet. These Banelings get a few hits on the Marines. One of the tanks does fall. Trying to hang on desperately is Elazer. He's actually doing a great job of keeping his money spending, but remember, this +1 finished. His 1-1 is still miles away. He's fighting with less upgrades, and these tanks are allowing him to have a very good position. Ryung pushing in, but he's got to get more damage, does Ryung.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? At this point, it's still 64 versus 46 workers. So as long as Elazer holds on, he's going to be in a fine position. He's got so many Queens here. All he needs to do is clean up this fort. Now, does he have enough?
Oh, those Queens, the Banelings from above flank! Oh! The Baneling flank is massive, Loco! Wow! That was a big mistake for Ryung. And now he loses the position. He's going to try to set up here and make something of it. That tank there sieging, but it's going to go down as well. And Elazer has just bought so much room for himself.
Yeah, keep in mind, there's no third command center on the back of this here for our Terran players. So this is, for all intents and purposes, a 2-base all-in. Obviously, he can fly to CC if he really needs to, but that worker count is going to help out Elazer. He's just going to, be able to produce more units here as time goes by, and that income advantage, it's showing us everything.
The trick with those sort of pushes, you cannot tunnel vision. Bjorn is one of the best experts at this, and Bunny, both of them, one of the things they do there is they would have had a Marine out on the left, spotting that flank, and they would have moved the Marines forward so they could start a step back and kind of intercept those Banelings. But if you get surprised from two sides, unlike the first flank, Elazer had Banes coming from both sides. The medevacs were a bit too far away, so he couldn't kind of emergency pick up.
They were there for a while too, right? Like they were there for like a good 10, 20 seconds?
Yeah, because it always takes time, right? You got to set it up on both sides. So if he spotted that, that would have been huge. Oh, good move.
Yeah, really nice move right here from Elazer. Picking up a couple of those reinforcing units as well. He's feeling so confident right now that he fires up 2-2, even though he probably intends on winning the game before those upgrades finish up. That being said, though, having them, if you can get them finished, obviously that is amazing. Now he's going to collapse his army once again. Does he have enough?
Yeah, and the Queens clean up the libs so easy because there's so many. He was building 4 Queens at a time while dealing with the first push. Oh, maybe a bit of an over chase, but there we go. Good pullback by Elazer. And it feels like when 2-2 kicks in, it's all over. At the other hand, I've seen games like this turn around.
Hey, you were talking about that a little bit, right? A couple of burrowed veins.
Or in that case, a single. This is the Elazer special. So if anyone doesn't know, he does 2 there, but he also often only puts 1 out on its own. And one of the funny things is basically because so many people know that he burrows Banes all the time, he'll start setting individual ones up once he's revealed it. Because he doesn't want them to be able to scan and get the value of killing 2 Banelings.
There you go.
So it's this really funny little adjustment where people are like, but then you can't one-shot Marines. And he goes, I don't need to. I just need to make them afraid.
Yeah, so now there's also Zergling burrowed at the, well, quote-unquote third base of Ryung.
Oh, wow.
Trying to reposition the command center here, but
was he trying to do a void pull? Why were the SCVs there? Was he
No,
just
he was trying to transfer them to the third base.
Oh,
the main base is running out at this point in the game, so now half his economy, which was already terrible, is gone.
He's got to find that magical fight. The army supply is still very close. Oh, dude, 2-2. A triple upgrade advantage, or double, I guess, now that armor's there. But that +2 carapace especially is huge.
Okay, Ryung, though, still trying to obtain the victory in this match. He's got a decently sized army.
That's a lot of Lings.
He's a tank, though.
It's a lot of Lings going down, though. Look at the army supply. This is where things can get scary if the Zerg gets a bit lazy. I feel like Elazer's still doing everything great, but I've seen games like this where the Zerg just lets their guard down and they lose from here. I think Elazer should just give this base up and pull drones out to the bottom left side. Because as long as you don't give him the perfect fight, you will win in the long run. But the moment you feel like you need to fight in this angle, look at that tank lid position. You cannot fight into that.
How do you feel about the Hydras here? I feel just pureling Bane, especially with 2-2, would probably be enough, right? Right now, he seems like he's almost overcomplicating his situation.
I've seen a lot of players die by going Hydras here, Luca. I'm with you, man.
It seems a little bit risky, right? So he's creating a choke. I think giving up on this base, not losing the queens in the process, though, but giving up on this base may be the right call.
There's just no need to fight here. I mean, yeah, you can go forwards. Oh, good micro by Ryung, really.
Yeah.
I like how he's patiently just trying to engineer a situation where Elazer loses his cool and takes that bad fight, but Elazer's like, dude, I've got a burrowed Zergling on your natural, essentially.
Oh, obviously that command center is flying as well, right? So he can't actually use that for energy. Well, he scans himself to death there.
Yeah, got a few Marines. Nothing too crazy, but that supply is what's crazy. Oh my god, Loco. That supply advantage, and now he's going to clean up the last vestiges of Ryung's economy. Ryung is not going to be reinforcing this position.
Yeah, all he needs to do is clean up these units one last time. GG is called before that, however, as Elazer wins a stellar game number 1. That said, though, it got a little close, right? When that army first went across the map, you brought up the Banelings on the side and how he didn't have a Zergling or... well, a Terran Zergling, a Marine supporting for those units. He didn't notice that the surround was being set up right there by the Zerg, and ultimately he ended up losing a lot of his units. But
despite that, big exhales from Elazer, you can kind of see just the stress that those positional fights put on the Zerg. Like it looks like such a convincing victory. Then you see him like, oh my god, his face is a little bit red. He's breathing in and out really deeply, and you realize that I think Elazer's pretty happy that wasn't inside out, or maybe waterfall. One of these maps
just hits like 5 seconds earlier than that. Yeah, you're in a lot of trouble.
Some of those Moondance tank positions as well in that last season's map pool, those were nasty. But I think there, Dragon Scale is an interesting map to choose it on. You could kind of see how those tanks on like the low ground and spread around those different ridges really supported each other very nicely. So at first I look at that map and I say, big map, not that good for a tank push. But in the end, it did work out very well for, of course, Elazer with the hold. But we're going to find out how this series continues in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. back here at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. And of course, it is a qualifying match here as we get towards the end of the round of 36 play-in stage. Elazer on the left side representing Poland and Team Liquid up 1 game against Ryung.
Oh man, I was kind of vibing out to the music here, but apparently we have a StarCraft tournament to run. All right, I guess we'll get into game 2 here. Both players already in the lobby. We'll be jumping into the game in just a couple of seconds. I feel like Ryung looks very confident still after that game, right? I mean, to be fair, game number 1 in best of 5, it's kind of like that point in the tournament where you can try something, right? So Command Center first, already a little bit cheeky, then going for a 2-base all-in, also a little bit cheeky. Didn't work out perfectly. It is what it is. Time to jump into the next game.
Indeed. Well, this man was just a brick wall in front of his opponent in the last one. Let's see if he can keep up this solid play and get that qualification spot in the top right side representing Team Liquid. It's Elazer.
And his opponent from South Korea with the blue SCVs, he is Ryung.
Reppin' onside gaming there. Ryung is basically Maru's best friend, for those who don't know. Those two are almost like an old married couple when it comes to talking about how to kill Zerg, Protoss, and also, I mean, they're basically the kings of TVT for a reason, because they practice together so much. But yeah, Maru, of course, known for his ability to survive and weather the storm, whereas Ryung hasn't got that aura of invincibility in this matchup. Yeah. He struggles to get through that mid-game period. I do, though, admire how he played so far. I actually love the decision. You're at the end of a long day. Players are, you know, a little tired and stuff, and their attention might be a bit frayed. Come out of the gates with a very well-planned, decisive timing attack you've grinded a lot of games on. You've got some good tank positions. Your opponent held it, no worries. Move on to the next game. And just kind of, you had that opportunity that could have thrown your opponent on tilt, and already Elazer has to wonder what other tricks and aggressive builds you're going to be coming out with.
Well, in game number 2, the trick is a Reaper. When's the last time we've seen that build?
That is a rare unit. A man with a jetpack and 2 pistols. Who would ever thought of throwing that thing into a war zone? That's crazy.
That's crazy, man. You know what would have been crazier if he had only 1 pistol? Because then with the jetpack, would he start spinning if he like shoots? Like,
I mean, if he's in 0G.
Yeah.
Are they in 0G?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, the drones are already hovering.
Do we have a water map on this current map pool?
No, I don't think so. I think this is the first
one in a while, right?
Yeah. This is the green map, right? Isn't that what Sarah calls it?
Yeah, ancient cistern. A cistern, of course, a vessel that holds water. Often known for the top part of the toilet that allows you to do a bit of a flushy flush.
There you go. So maybe this map is underwater. Yeah. Then how does the fire? I don't know.
Well, you can see the water spurting out of the terrain on the sides of the map, which I don't think you can see when it's underwater, but who knows? It's StarCraft physics, my man.
Third drone snuck away already, and it now made a hatchery as well right there on the right side of the map. It's the most important thing right here for Elazer, so even though he's dancing right here with the Reaper, just like we were dancing as this game was loading up, well, especially in between the games with the music that was coming up. Now Ryung
loving the bangers, man. A little bit better than the single guitar chord being played over and over that was playing earlier today.
The guitar riff is excellent until you hear it for the 17th time. Okay, you know what?
We should have probably more than a 6-second loop of this. This would be a good idea. Who knows? But no, honestly, it's actually good fun to see Ryung here just saying, you know what? Attack didn't work with the 2-base timing. 3CC. Got just nice big macro opening, get the 3 command centers, doing some light harassment with the Reaper, and he's going to try his luck in a more straight-up game, or at least that's what it would appear. There has been a timing recently with a lot more of the Hellbat Marauder after 3rd command center has been popular. However, Ryung's building multiple Marines, so it doesn't look like he's going for that.
I wonder if he's going to go for a Banshee here as well. Yeah, I think it's going to be it's going to be straight into a Liberator. I always find the Liberator a little bit risky, just on the off chance that Zerg would go for a timing attack with Roach Ravager, and especially when the Elazer is 1-0 ahead. I wouldn't be too surprised if he decided to put down a Roach Warren. If that were to be the case, though, he would have already put that down about a half minute or so ago, so I think Elazer's just going to set himself up for a nice little macro game, just like he was trying to do in the previous game, too.
And remember, Liberators are now 25 gas cheaper. Something a lot of people have not been talking about. It's kind of been lost in the bigger talking points about the patch, but definitely is cheaper. The Reaper baiting! I think that's worth it for Elazer. 2 Zerglings to get rid of that Reaper. The regenerating unit that ends up tanking a lot if you don't deal with it. And it is, of course, just a nice duel between these players. Elazer has a healthy 12 worker advantage.
I love how Mapu is selecting the Tastelope and the Artosalope every chance we get. I've seen it highlighted so many times.
I love that they're the most, they're very confident people in real life. We know them quite well, and yet their critters are the most nervous.
Yeah.
Like, look at the way
skittish. Look at them. Weird looking giraffe, man. I don't know what it is.
I also like the Artosalope is green, obviously vegetarian over the years and stuff, so it's kind of adapted to just kind of blend into the environment. The tasteless one's a bit more flashy. It stands out.
No fancy mech play this time around, by the way. We were talking about it a little bit earlier, but Ryung transitioning towards his beloved bio mid-game, and I would imagine we're probably going to be seeing a Baneling Nest as well very soon. I think Elazer might be a little busy. Either that, or he's got something in store for us.
Oh, no! Okay, thought that was Forecrawler and the Queen were going to bug out and block each other there. So far, good defense by him, but Ryung's being really annoying. He's doing this thing called Constant Liberator Micro that is very annoying for his Zergs, but in the end, it only nets a few drones. Double Evo, Baneling Nest, extra gases are on the way. It used to always be you're going really quick Bane speed or really quick Double Evo. A lot of the time, the players are kind of just getting both at the same time these days, while they're trying to secure that nice, quick fourth base.
Yeah, as long as you get Baneling speed done by the time that Terran goes for a big bio attack, you're gonna be fine, right? So this is always a bit of a guess.
That's brave.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you stand your ground. There you go. You're gonna be okay.
If Elazer, if he thought about it, like he just pulls back for a second and misses one attack, he loses that queen. Yeah, we would have.
And then you lose the queen, and you're like, oh man. 1-1 coming up here as well for the Zerg player. He'll probably fire up that Baneling speed very soon. That is one of the most important upgrades. There it goes. And as long as he gets that done before the timing attack of the Terran, he's going to be A-okay. Now, of course, with this triple CC opener, Ryung isn't forced to do a whole lot of early game damage like you kind of have to with some other timing attacks. As you can see with the work account right now, he's A-okay.
3 depots at once coming down, and he does realize he'd missed the last reactor. The Hellions getting some good shots off. Wow, Elazer getting this around, but I mean, he's losing a lot of Zerglings to do it, so I think a decent trade by Ryung, some nice micro, getting him some value as the double drop comes on, zooming into the main. The Zergling's not quite underneath that. He's going to have to pull his Queens up here to try and deal with those Marines.
Yeah, he had a lot more Zerglings, actually. I was a little bit concerned that he was going to need those Zerglings that he just sacrificed to the Hellions to defend the main base. But Elazer also cleans this up pretty easily as he now makes that transition once again to the Hydras. So in ZVP, we saw him playing lots of Hydras, right? Many, many, many Hydralisks. We were talking about it a little bit as well in the green room. I wonder if he's that, he's going to play that style as well against Terran. It seems at least that we're headed in that direction.
I think Ryung saw those Banelings. I don't know if Elazer saw the medevac spotting them.
I think Elazer assumes that the medevac spotted them, so he's not going to do it anymore. So we won't know if Ryung actually saw them.
He was stimming Marines down there. They just barely didn't move to the right position. And and that's actually unfortunate because now Bane speed's finished, which is, of course, one of the things Elazer was waiting for. So if he can distract him on the front while rolling those boys in, watch out. Waddly balls of explosive coming right into that mineral line, Ryung.
Oh, no.
Oh, 18 SCVs going down. And barely even a reaction. Obviously, he's frustrated. He's going to see if he can answer damage with damage.
Oh, no reaction right here from the Zerg initially. So, I mean, 8 drones is better than no drones, I suppose. But this is definitely going in favor of Elazer.
Oh, and Elazer's already going range upgrades before +2 melee, so he's going to go for the heavy Hydra play that's been so popular recently.
Yep.
Wow, interesting to see. 2-2 is, of course, far ahead for Ryung. He's taking a 4th command center, moving that out, but he's got to keep massing up these SCV production. Also, he's building Widow Mines, which, of course, don't fare so well versus the heavy Hydra.
Yeah, how do you feel about the second factory at this point into Widow Mines? I mean, that is going to be tricky against Hydras, right? Since the Hydras can outrange them pretty easily.
I think because you're going Attack Lab by default for drilling claws, you probably just go straight into tanks the moment you see a Hydra, and maybe even swap that first factory off the reactor and go for the double tank production. It does feel like Ryung's going to have to chill for a while in this game, though. I don't think he has any kill timings, and we'll have to think about, like, 5th command center, 3-3 upgrades, and maybe even a 3rd factory, which has been gaining popularity in the matchup.
Curious to see how many Hydralisks Elazer is going to settle on. I mean, I'm assuming he's going to transition here into the Lurker eventually, too.
A lot of people just going Vipers, right? Hydraling Bane Viper with Adrenal Gland, like, for a very long time. But we'll see. Oh, man, that is a nice little drop. But, Wow, that medevac pilot, she's drunk! And definitely blowing a bit too high on the breath test there. And as a result, looks like they are cornered the Queens. Ooh, barely able to reach it.
Finishing up, right? The groove spice is finishing up very soon right here.
Oh, ouch. Yeah. Ouchie, ouchie.
It's going to make it a little bit more frustrating here as Ryung gives up on those units. Hanging in the corner. Queen right there. Gets barely close enough. Game going well so far for Elazer, but Ryung still has a good amount of economy. He's got that 4th command center secured. He's going straight into 3-3. Ghost Academy is coming up as well. Gotta be careful you don't get carried away making Ghosts in this sort of situation, but it's nice to have, just in case you do need it.
5th command center gets cancelled. Widowmines do burrow, but nice spread. He builds back most of the Zerglings, getting back in on top of that base. And there's not much at home to defend. Ryung is F2ing his whole army home. He's scrambling back. Good Widowmine hit. Does stall out the advance of some of the units. Another Widowmine and the Marines in the Planetary do defend most of his SCVs, but nonetheless, losing a building command center and, of course, 12 more workers puts Ryung behind. Oh, no. Overseer's here to clean up the Widowmines. That's a lot of damage. Marines. The Baneling's getting some big juicies.
Yeah, at least he can retaliate and counter-attack here as soon as those Banelings run out, so at least he's going to get a couple of those Hydras on the retreat.
Whoa.
There goes the Artosalope.
The Artosalope is losing it. Oh, there's a giant battle going on, man.
Should just be hiding in the bottom right, man. I don't know why he's in the middle of the map, but there's that hive coming up. No lurker then just yet, so I think you're right. It's probably just going to be a couple of Vipers added into the mix. Or, he starts up +2.
You want to see those mini space scouts, don't you?
I would like to see a couple of Ultras here, but I think he needs the IR. Oh, he already got +2 finish.
Yeah. Remember, he went for the weird upgrade order, right? Because he swapped it around.
A 3rd Evo. That's the play.
The 3rd Evo is actually very, very cute. I think very rarely worth it directly, but always fun.
Yes.
In this case,
the 3-fo.
Yeah, the 3-fo.
The 3-volution chamber.
For when you want to make all the upgrades at once and make an army composition
you
where
can't
the Banelings get stuck behind your Hydras and Roaches and stuff.
Oh, a couple of Widowmines here, still getting a lot of value despite the Hydra army. The problem is, now that they've fired, the Hydraling Bane can start plowing through this army. There's still a couple of Banelings stuck in the back. There's the additional units coming in, and I think Ryung will be able to push this back. Ooh, a lot of units.
Yeah, every time you catch the Hydras, it's good. I like that he's scanning. He's realized who he's playing. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That burrow almost caught him out there. Ryung, of course, distracted on the other side. Elazer being very frustrated to play against. He's just swarming into the SCVs. 11 of them go down. A bunch more get damaged on the way back in. But every time you lose the Hydras, that is very expensive and hard to replace.
Crisis averted like 3 times right there in a row. I think twice or so Ryung didn't realize it, but at the very least, he's okay. This game was just about to be an absolute disaster here for the Korean Terran. He stabilizes. Not entirely sure if he's too comfortable in this position, but at least it's not yet game over.
Yeah, I actually don't mind Elazer just staying on Hydra Bane here. Normally, I'd be calling for, like, Vipers, Lurkers, Infestors, Ultras. I think right now he has the numbers advantage, and because Elazer's economy is not that high, continuing to just smash in and deny economy of your opponent is a good way of doing it. He's just got to be careful not to take fights that are too inefficient, because if he takes one really bad fight, and then suddenly Ryung gets a 5th base up, this lead could disappear. For now, though, he's got the swarming numbers. He's got the 2-2 attack upgrades about to join in, and he's going to look for another big attack on the south side.
Yeah, always nice to see that first-person view right there. He already loaded up a couple units right there on the left side, too, to once again try and go after that planetary fortress. I'm assuming it's repaired back up, but Elazer always in multiple locations at once are ready to strike, and turns out sometimes you might just catch yourself a medevac in the middle of them.
I think Elazer could have busted this southern base, but now he's let it morph into a planetary. I'm a little worried that, like, Ryung is closing the supply gap. There was a 30 supply gap, and you can see now Ryung's ahead in army supply for the first time in a long time, and yet Elazer doesn't have a transition. Where are the Lurkers? Like, where are the Broodlords?
Yeah.
It's not coming. So don't get me wrong, Elazer's still in a good position, but I think he went from a borderline winning position. It looked like he was about to break Ryung's back there. And now Ryung's on 5 base, and a 5 base Terran that's maxed out can start really rounding out his style.
This next fight is going to be absolutely critical right here for Elazer, as he does indeed come to the 6 o'clock position here. That planetary fortress is going to help out a lot. Does he have enough to push it back? He does. Ryung cleans up that fight, and that is super important, right? You were talking about it, right? Ryung, he likes to talk to Maru about strategies, and this is the type of position that Maru finds himself in all the time. Maru is super scary in this position where he just doesn't seem to die. Everybody tries to emulate that style. I've seen a couple of players, pull it off successfully. I think Ryung is going to have to play something similarly in this game as well, but at least the start is there.
There's no drops, there's no Niduses, there's no new fronts being opened up. Elazer adds a Viper here. He's making 27 more Banelings. He's up to 93 workers now. But the defensive line, it feels like Elazer's lost confidence in his ability to break through that. And it seems like maybe just covering the map in creep and trying to dominate the map is his plan for the next few minutes in this game. Keep banking up resources and take it from there. I just definitely feel like Ryung is closing the gap now. 3 more command centers, a second armory on the way. Ryung is trying to get to that big turtled up late game.
Yeah, bleeding out a Terran player with 5 mineral lines is going to be a little bit difficult. Elazer is, however, going to try as he comes in once again. There's so many ghosts now in the mix as well, though. There's that planetary fortress is going to soak up a ton of the Baneling hits. At least it goes down, but I don't think that's a horrible trade for Terran.
I want to see that unit's lost tab after that. That was nasty. Yeah. Like, so many Banelings went down, and so little army actually died for the Terran. So that's an expensive trade. I think as long as you're ahead, you can kind of do that in this economic position. But just got to be careful. If you can find a bit of a better trade by kind of making it so he doesn't know where you're coming from, surprise him a little more, and have those ghosts still walking over to help defend when you blow up the planetary, you can get in, you can get out without being punished so hard.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned the 6 o'clock base, like the one all the way at the bottom. There was really no reason why Ryung got this into a planetary fortress for, well, essentially free, right?
Yeah.
He had all the time in the world to attack that one, or at least try to take out one of the other bases, and now things are starting to look a little bit desperate. Don't get me wrong, I still really like Elazer's position, but his strategy is to rinse and repeat, and it worked the first 5 or so attack waves, but the last 3 have not been nearly as successful. And now, yeah, for the first time, Ryung is really starting to strike back.
And it's going to be a big confidence builder because, of course, this game's going so well for Elazer in the early stages. Yet Ryung fighting back. Elazer's going to go for another. About 60 Banelings rolling in.
Oh,
that command center is no more, mate. And, ghosts do get picked up and saved. But where's the extra support? The SCVs are getting boomed as well. I think these trades are good enough. Elazer is so rich that getting a trade like this is massive.
He's going to be able to replace this army once again here momentarily. We saw like 100+ Zerglings on the production tab earlier, so that is what he's trying to do. Just make more of the same units and just swarm all over that Terran base. Another medevac drop right here in the top left-hand corner, though, trying to equalize things as Ryung gets a council on another base.
Ryung's building more and more command centers. He's trying to keep re-establishing that northern base, the 9 o'clock position, which has been, of course, Elazer's target. And that's why I'd like to see Elazer mass up Morph Bane's outer sensor tower range on the bottom right, and then move in and dive on that 6 o'clock that you were talking about just before. So, it's, I mean, it's pretty reinforced, the position, but...
What about this base right up here?
Oh, like that? You think he should take that instead of the northern base?
I'm not 100% sure.
Because you can kind of cover it from the high ground with like one centralized tank lib position. I actually think that's a really good idea.
Because now he's spread very thin, right? He's got units in the south and he's got units in the western end of the map, and it's really difficult to... split up an appropriate amount of units in both places when Elazer has got so much creep that he can cycle his entire army in like 5 seconds.
Elazer is simply playing bank wars. He's saying, my line of credit's bigger than yours, mate. We're just gonna, war of attrition. I'm just gonna throw more men at you than you can handle, essentially, because I don't need, extra money. The reason is it's all about the supply efficiency of the Banelings. I don't need better tech. It's just like, I have Banelings, and they only cost half a supply, but they do a big explosion. Yeah, it's not cost-effective directly, but it doesn't matter, because once I break the front line, the Hydras, the Lings get a good trade. I'm mining so much more of the map than you. Look at that gigantic bank.
Free medevac drop right over there as well, as he once more is trying to secure the base here on the left side of the map. Once more, though, no Overseer with this fight. And that's a bit of a theme we've seen so far in the game. That's the only thing I can really criticize Elazer on. He's had a couple of fights where he could have essentially picked up...
a lot more of those Widow Mines, for sure.
Exactly, yeah. He could have picked up a couple of them for free. Now he's going to move into the southern position once again.
Good Blinding Cloud.
Yeah, shutting down a lot of those ghosts. They have to evacuate. Side of the medevac, but that's the planetary fortress now gone. I think it's starting to, really drive it home right now for Elazer.
Yeah, and I think your point about the bases being spread is big. Nice snipes to punish Elazer. For those who don't know, though, Elazer famous for building an Elazer of Overlords. You might wonder, what's an Elazer of Overlords? An Elazer of Overlords is when you need a certain amount to be maxed, but then you build another 14 Overlords just in case. That's what an Elazer of Overlords is. It
looks like he's fixed it, though. He needs to make new OVs right now at the 19-minute mark. That wouldn't have happened like 2 years ago.
I mean, he only lost like 5 Overseers, right?
Yeah.
It used to be you'd kill 10 and he'd still be at 200.
It's such such a difficult habit to break, but apparently, at least in this game, not a problem for Elazer as he flies in with more units once again. So many efficient, cost-efficient trades for Ryung, but there's just so much Zerg. Look at the bank. He still has so much money to just continuously replace this. And with 91 workers, I mean, there's so many mineral fields yet to mine too. Elazer is not going to run out.
It's kind of funny because you look at this sort of attack and you go, why don't you just have #1 mass tank, planetaries, wall-offs, widow mines, and maybe even hellbats, right? That seems really good. The problem is, like, if you get too focused on that stuff, something like suddenly a Broodlord swap. A round of Broodlords is usually the killing blow off this style. And that's the one thing I'm like, Elazer, you're rich, why aren't we preparing Greatest Fire? Because if you can surprise with 8 Broodlords when they're very like tank focused on the defense for tanks and mines, there's not that many ghosts. I do think Broodlords could make the finishing up of this game a little bit smoother. On the other hand, he's doing a great job with the Hydraling Bane, and even a little drop like that, I think he's happy to take the trade on the Marines. He's like, yeah, I lost a few drones. I really don't care. More supply to remax with Banelings.
Yeah, the thing about a Spire and a Greater Spire Pig is that he would spend gas he can spend on Banelings too. What do you rather want, okay? 20 more Banelings or a Greater Spire? I think Elazer wants 20 more Banelings.
I think you're right, Loco. What can I say? The power of the little roly-poly bursty boy. It's hard to fight against that. You know, in some games, you get invincibility frames when you do the roly-poly. In StarCraft, you just literally get to detonate a big explosion on their face.
No Dark Souls mechanics in this one. Nice splits here once again against the Widow Mines as he's once more coming in here for a tech wave 79. Now we have a Parasitic Bomb as well on the Medevacs. Good split right there, though, from Ryung, but he's forced to back up all the way towards his third base. And everything
man. It's one of those fights, you're like, amazing spreads, but then there's a command center in the open and 20 SCVs died while you're too busy spreading your army. That's one of the things that, like, I'm always impressed by when the best Terrans manage to save the SCVs and the army. Man, the snipes getting off are big, but the numbers of Elazer are disgusting. And this is what happens when, of course, your opponent just has a bigger bankroll than you. We're watching a team that has $20 million more a season to spend on their draft, you know, and it's like the cheaper team is doing a really good effort. Ryung's fighting very well, but you've got to look at that early game and how Elazer got so far ahead to dominate from there.
StarCraft 2 capitalism at work over here in game 2 of this best of 5 series. Honestly, from start to finish, Elazer just, seemed in control of that match, right? By the end, he probably covered, like, if I were to make a guess, 80% of that map in creep as well. But it was essentially for the entirety of the game covered. And really not a whole lot of opportunities for Ryung either, right? Like, where do you think it went wrong?
You know, it's interesting because I'm kind of going back and it's like, hey, the Liberated microed well. You know, the Hellions made an okay account of themselves, but none of it was a big impact. And I think the way Elazer went for that very quick 4th base early on, but then also went range upgrades rather than +2 melee. And he was like, no, we're going to have like just good packs of Hydras. And he was very quick to split his army into 2 sides to both defend the harassment, but then also to explode into his own moves. And it felt like Ryung, it wasn't just that the attacks were splitting up and killing him, but Elazer was quick to threaten both sides at once. And by threatening both sides, suddenly Ryung had no vision, and then Elazer would group his whole army, smash into one base, and he'd do most of the damage before Ryung could bring half of his army even to defend, and then Elazer would get in and get out. So I feel like pushing Ryung off the map set up for the finishing blows.
Yeah, we saw a couple of Medevacs going down as well in the early mid-game, I guess is what we can call it. And that's like 20 to maybe 30 supply of units for essentially free. Really allowed Elazer to start up that incredible economy here. He sat on like 70-something workers for a long time there. I was going to bring that up, but next time I watched the bottom of the screen, he was already at 90.
Yeah. I didn't notice when he built those drones either.
I was like, oh, wait, he was at like, no, he's at like 97 now. Everything is A-okay.
I know Reina was doing that in a few games as well. A few of the Zergs going back for the old Hydraling Bane bust. And I mean, it's always been a very good bust. It really is, especially if you have like a good, clean early game. You can even kill mech players with it. Back when mech was really popular last time around, Elazer was regularly just busting it by just, you know, he'd fly overlords in front just to see where everything was and like waste any Thor shots, and he would just bust in with mass Hydraling Bane and bust. You know, you'd think tank Hellbat's pretty good at defending it, but you hit that timing just right and it really is effective.
Yeah, it's tricky as well, right? Because a lot of Terran players almost like autopilot into ghosts and units that can counter the late-game armies that we see coming out of Zerg all the time. So he was more than ready to counter Lurkers, Brute Lords, Ultralisks, all of the heavy hitters from the Zerg. And he said, no, I just want to make more Hydras, more Zerglings, and Banelings. And it's not that Ghosts are necessarily bad against that army, but if you have like 20 of them, like we saw in this game, they definitely they don't trade particularly efficiently anymore.
Yeah, there was a few of those fights where you looked at these Widow Mines with a few tanks and a few Ghosts, and I kind of went like, if there's 20 Marines up there, they're gunning down the front Zerglings, allowing the Widow Mines to get more impactful hits on the Banelings rather than... Instead, the Widow Mines were all detonating on the frontlings, which Elazer could just freely spread. It's like there's this mix of ranged combat units that makes it way more deadly for the Zerg, because they're like, oh, there's so many Marines, I need to come in all at once to get past the Marines. But, I mean, then you're clumping up for tanks and Widow Mines. So there's that combo seemed to be just barely missing in that last game. But of course, it all comes back to the fact that this guy is dominant in this matchup right now. Down here in the bottom left, one map away from getting that spot in the group stage. It's Team Liquid's Elazer.
And his opponent from South Korea, representing on-site, he is Ryung. Currently 2-0 behind here, which is a little bit tricky. I wonder what he's going to do here in the third game of this best-of-5 series, right? So, game number 1, we saw a quick command center first on the low ground. He didn't scout, he just went straight into that 2-base all-in. Game number 2, he went for a quick triple CC opener with a Liberator. And honestly, it seemed very successful, right? Like, it went well. The early game wasn't poor for him whatsoever.
Yeah.
But then Elazer was just all over him in the mid-game.
Yeah, no, he was doing all right, definitely, but I think the Baneling run-by was probably actually the big turning point. He just remembered the Baneling run-by. I'm like, that was 20 SCVs at like the 7-minute 30
and he
mark.
killed like 8 drones on the back of it too.
Yeah,
that was not a
but then he
very
lost
good
both
trade.
medevacs as well, right?
Yes.
So that was actually a huge momentum shift. That's always a point where if you can get some damage done there, it slows down the Terrans so much. But you know what? Ryung watched that Cure game, and he said, oh, come on, I can't let you get all the adulation. I need to lose 2 games just so that I can start that comeback. Damn you haters, you know, what do you think? Come on, man. We're still Korean Terrans. Nobody should ever doubt the power of the Korean Terran player.
You know what someone pointed out earlier today, and now I can't unsee it? On Royal Blood, apparently we've changed the carpet in the natural.
Yeah.
There was that little rug, and apparently it would hide Widow Mines. Well, now this command center is very rudely
base has it as well, actually. So yeah,
it's an identical little rug now, right?
It used to look like Aladdin's carpet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to look like you could fly away on it. Turns out, well, Widow Mines.
I will show you the mine. That there's literally no visual indicator for until it blows up. Yeah, people were getting a little annoyed at that, so they cleaned that one up. Of course, Royal Blood is covered in treasure.
Yep.
There's basically gold all over the place.
There's
and like
doubloons, man. Blackheart's doubloons?
Yeah.
That's what the guy in Heroes of the Storm is called?
The thing is, it must have been giants who lived here, because like they're all bigger than literally the units. Like you could fit 50 Zerglings in one of those golden teacups or whatever.
Yeah. You're not wrong. They are huge. Anyways, the Reaper getting in right now. We see a couple of Zerglings. Drone hiding at the third.
Oh, my lord.
Wow. I wasn't even looking at the Reaper's HP because that is not supposed to happen.
Ryung looked unhappy with that. He was shifting in his chair. That was like a real, like, there was no special anything. It was literally he just didn't click.
There wasn't even a queen yet. Yeah, he just didn't push it far away. So now it becomes scary for the Terran player, because now the first thing you think of is roaches, right? You can't scout anymore. You don't know what's going on. I mean, I know someone's going to mention, well, you could just scan the main base of the Zerg and figure it out that way. That would be incredibly expensive. So now you have to play a game where either you take a risk or you defend everything.
I think he's just going to not even worry about it, honestly. I think he might already have been planning to go Banshees.
Yeah, I think that's a great option.
To keep you safe, but it's still like, I mean, it's not even the roaches as well. It's the roaches, and it's like, well, what if he snuck some Lings across, and when my Hellions are over, he backstabs? What if he just gets his creep out further, which with no contesting, you know that creep is going to spread a bit further. When your first Hellions get out there and there's like already creep spreading on these 3 separate lanes and they're so far apart, and you're like, I can only stop one of these. Like the other 2 are going to spread freely while I deny one side. So it's
a mental hit too, right? Losing that first Reaper really sucks, because it's one of the beginner mistakes in StarCraft 2. Well, at least, you know, he gets to retaliate, snipe one of the creep tumors here, so that is a beginning. But Elazer now has free reign over whatever he likes to do. So, by the way, no Banshee. That is a little bit of a gamble, right? Triple CC, losing the Reaper, and then going straight into a Viking. You do love to see it. You got to play with some confidence here. Ryung apparently cutting some corners.
You're down 0-2, mate. If he starts playing safe, overly concerned, it's like there's no way you're going to win 3 games in a row, right? I like the guy who gets down 0-2 and then just skips the scout entirely and goes 3 command center, you know? I like. Obviously, you don't want to be losing the Reaper, but I want to see just not afraid to take risks. I am a little sad that Ryung is not confident playing mech, but oh my. Those are some extra barracks going down there.
Yep.
He's got the stim. It just looks like he's just going to play straight up into, I would imagine, Biomine here. We're not sure just yet. He's still building extra add-ons for the barracks. But looks like he's just going to go for a big old Biomine game on Royal Blood. And apparently Ryung says, look, these games haven't gone my way, but I still have faith. Those Banelings are not going to clear my 3rd mineral line this time. If I don't have a start like that, I think I can go toe-to-toe with Elazer. He was just too rich in that last game.
Yeah, those Banelings are going to be coming up very soon again as we have the lair fired up. The Baneling nest is about 1/3 of the way done as well. And Elazer will be looking to get that centrifugal hooks upgrade. The Baneling speed ASAP. No Evo chamber upgrades just yet. So I'm expecting that we're going to see those Evo chambers fire up very quickly here as well.
I do like the landed Viking attempt there from Ryung.
It's nice. It's cute.
Super cute. Yeah, it's rare it gets any. I actually love it when someone hides it behind like a 4th base that's building. So the Zerg hatchery doesn't have vision, and then it's when the drones transfer, and it like waits for like 30 seconds, and then it kills like 2 drones, and you're like, yes,
you
this
get that
unit was
mental
meant to be
advantage.
useless, but yeah, like, and then you know the Zerg kind of shakes their head, just like, bloody silly thing to lose drones to.
I was going to go for 2 4th bases anyways, but I treat one of them for as a macro hatchery here. I like how the golden minerals, by the way, on this particular map, maybe not in this matchup, but we've most often see Protoss players mine them from the back, which is a little bit weird. At least so far in this tournament, the Nexi have been located on the wrong side of that golden mineral line.
Oh, Haas, so sweet, Haas. If only he followed that up with a greedy option. I think that would have been a nightmare for Spirit earlier today, but...
More zealots, okay. 1 Nexus equals 4 zealots. That's what we need. Anyways, none of those units in this particular matchup as we have Elazer playing the same old game that's been working wonderfully for him so far. Are those SCVs following each other at the 3rd base?
Yeah.
That is rough.
Oh, that's like, yeah, the rally point must be set to an SCV. Fixes it. At least he notices.
I think he set it on a mule or something, and then the mule expired, and then he got the notification that they were on idle. So that must have been idle for
He's still got 1 or 2 SCVs idle, so I don't know if he changed the rally point.
Can we have a look at the income here? Or the income advantage over the last couple of minutes? Maybe after this fight clears up, because I've got a feeling that those units were not mining for quite a while.
Elazer's playing Massling Bane.
Yeah.
He's on 4 gas this time, Loco, so that means he's not going Hydras. He's just going to play Massling Bane. He's getting Overlord speed. He's got Burrow. He just wants to swarm with Massling Bane, and he wants to use those aggressive Burrowed Baneling positions to really punish Ryung here. Baneling's rolling in behind. The SCVs go back to mine. Not again! Oh, that is devastating.
Yeah, Ryung is going to have nightmares of those Baneling run-bys later today, because he is absolutely falling apart here in the 3rd game of this best-of-5 series.
Oh, man. Even burrowing Zerglings in the mineral line. He's going to try and push in on the other side. He's got a good 16 army advantage. But it is, of course, the 1-1 upgrade not quite finished just yet for Elazer. Banelings, though, oh, they actually good spready from Ryung there. Really nice spread. I feel like a lot of the Banelings tried to spread towards the enemy, and they kind of ended up just blowing up in the open ground.
Yeah, he's got a lot more, though, and there they do finally connect with Ryung's units. And now it's the same situation as we've already seen. Maybe a slightly different unit count here for Elazer, or a slightly different unit comp. He's lost a bunch more queens as well, but he's got the economical advantage, and now he gets to, well, do whatever he likes, and apparently that means throwing units at the opponent. And you know what? This Burrow upgrade, it's been phenomenal so far, right? Like, just such an obnoxious thing to have to deal with.
I mean, honestly, hats off to Elazer for playing so clean, but I've just got to, at the moment, I have a lot of empathy for how Ryung feels. You know, anyone who's worked in the service industry knows what it feels like when a really stuck-up customer comes in and literally throws their Black Amex at your face. And I think essentially that's what Ryung's experiencing right now, is just absolute ridiculous Zerg wealth being tossed in his face. It is disgusting. Look at that, burrowing Banelings in his face. He scans and blows it up as well. I mean, Elazer's just got far too much money. He can just swarm in with endless Zerglings and Banelings.
Elazer will be more than happy to trade 50 energy out of that orbital command for 2 Banelings, right? Especially after you've just cleaned up half of that Terran economy. Rinse and repeat here is going to be the strategy for Elazer once again. He fires up 2-2. Does he need it? Not really. Baneling roll by at least this time around does get countered, but Elazer is going to get to the other side of the map as soon as he can. Look at this. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, Oh, man. This is so... Hey, look, even Burrows and runs away.
That is
Elazer.
so annoying.
Oh, he's doing so much nasty stuff right now to Ryung. And the Lings breach the natural at the same time. This is impossible. The numbers just aren't there. It doesn't matter if each one of those Marines are Arnold Schwarzenegger. You just can't hang on when there's that many units for the Zerg, man.
Honestly, an incredible series right there by Elazer. Just clean from start to finish. Game number 1 looked a little bit scary, right? When the siege tanks first rolled